Deltarune Chapter 5 was finally released, and it was... What the Oh my god. Certainly a very special experience. So welcome to Deltarune Chapter 5. Now, going into this chapter, I was very excited. Not only was I expecting some yummy lore, but Castletown, aka the place where Ralsei Deltarune lives, gets cool upgrades and new dialogue that I just couldn't wait to check out. Luckily, we headed there right away, and were immediately greeted by Lancer, aka the only important character in this game. Speaking of Ralsei, I just noticed that Ralsei is an anagram of Israel. Isn't that kinda insane? After witnessing a bunch of shadow guys burn all of their life savings into gambling, we finally find Susie, and let's just say I wasn't expecting what happened next. Ah, Lancer, I didn't notice you. You're biking on the ceiling. Lancer? Who's that? I'm just a poor innocent boy. An innocent boy looking for some innocenter heroes. I helped design an outfit for my friend Susie. Oh my god, this is again. This feels familiar. It's new. That's right, they brought back the Thrash Machine format, just with the small difference of building an outfit inside the Death Machine. Despite my severe temptations to make yet another dark, I, as a responsible wingman, decided to log in, and I really feel like I cooked. Come on, you gotta admit this looks kinda tough. Well, anyway, after checking on Ralsei's new beautiful room and observing whatever Queen is doing here, we finally leave Castletown and meet up with Noelle for her date with Susie. And you already know I was putting my wingman skills to their maximum use. Since characters in Deltarune really don't have the autonomy to make their own decisions, I was easily able to allow Susie and Noelle to always have the romantic moments, whether it was hitting the strength tester together, going on the Ferris wheel, or holding hands in the eyeball bow. After a bunch of walking around and talking to the funny skeleton from Undertale, the whole party heads over to the shore, where Chris conveniently enters a random coma, allowing our two lovebirds to have some alone time. And would you look at that? Deltarune is officially woke. I cannot believe it. The plot, however, was advancing too fast, meaning that Chris Chan had to start a 6-hour filler episode to drag out the story. Thanks for that, Chris. Well, anyway, we are in the dark world now, and I'm sure nothing weird and random is just gonna happen. What the fuck? Are we in an enemy now? What the fuck? What? That's a human. Sorry to keep you waiting. What? That's right. Meet Flowery. Our dad's best imaginary friend, who's made it his personal mission to fulfill whatever dreams Elska could possibly have, while also being the most obnoxious being in the universe. And I'm telling you, this was on sight. I fucking hated this guy. Here's some clips of me absolutely hating on him. I wanna murder this guy. I wanna murder him. I wanna slay him. I wanna murder this guy. I hate this guy. Yeah, you could really see how fond I was of this flowery excuse for a dark nerd. We head off into the field, where we find our closeted last team member, Israel. Get it? Because they're in a closet stuff? Yeah? Anyway, we solve some puzzles, eat some mysterious shrooms to solve puzzles, water plants to solve puzzles, and puzzle about the existence of our sanity. Until we meet this random blue girl. She seemed kinda sweet, but then she started hurling knives at me, leaving me with no other choice but to unleash my ultimate attack, my most deadly move yet. Spinning around in a circle. Fearful of this unprecedented power, Aqua decides to flee, leaving us with the spoils of war, aka this random feather, which we swiftly collect, and behold, the third dimension is no longer canon, and I have now unlocked the amazing ability to both shoot dangerous projectiles at my enemies and hang Ralsei down to the tree. Everything a soul could ever want. Long Ralsei. With the third dimension now removed, we are easily able to continue forward. We refused the offer to leave the dark world that this sub-5 beta kind will make us accept, and since Tumblr's favorite boy was somehow expecting us to actually leave the dark world, we finally get a good opportunity to talk with our dad. This, however, is immediately interrupted by the talking French fry, sending Asker blasting off again, telling us that if the knight were to show up, he'd have the situation handled before immediately leaving. I'm sure that if the knight were to show up, Flowey were to make quick work of him, the frauding knight could never beat the power of friendship and flower, or whatever whoever else Satan's greatest soldier might throw at him. Rightfully not listening to anything Big Flurry tries to put into her brains, we dash over to the mountains, repeatedly encountering wannabe purple light Yagami and the random blue girl from earlier, who attempt to best our morale by making us fight the terrible machinations that are knife-throwing purple glasses. As a pro gamer, we however can make swift work of this terrible machine. And after more walking and some unimportant stuff, we finally reach the great evil-ass building in the distance, where we get taken off guard by Escor and imprisoned via spawn camping after re-entering the Dark World. This, however, was merely an elaborate scheme to further my moss-eating journey and become the greatest moss-eater known to man. Since the plot demands we reach chapter 7, the Redditor conveniently frees us since they were afraid that the random blue girl might like us more than them. They must not be as much of an alpha male as I if their homie already favors me after only half a day of hanging out. Then again, the blue girl also does show her love through aggressive stabbing, so maybe being her favorite isn't as much of a flex as I thought it might be. We regroup with Israel and make our way back towards the castle, where we are stopped by this monument to Asker's involuntary narcissism, forcing us to head off into the unknown, where we eventually encounter Asker once again. But because Deltarune is an alternative universe to Undertale, Asker is now a flat earth conspiracist instead of collecting the souls of children. This research would have completely consumed him had Flurry not gifted Asker yet another monument to his ego in the form of golden armor with Flurry's face on it. We would have loved to partake in Asker's conspiracies, but sadly Chris lacks the basic reading comprehension to decipher these mysterious documents. Defeated, we continue into the castle, where we fight our way through floating guns and flowers until we stumble upon Woody, aka friend inside me, who the game falsely refers to as Yellow. Woody accuses us of destroying the blue flowers that were blocking our path earlier, but I don't really know how else he wants people to traverse past these serious safety hazards. Then again, maybe other people coming through here might have access to more than 2 dimensions of space. We, however, completely outsmart friend inside me guy by using the hyper-advanced strategy of saying "no you," leading Woody to give us the key and enter the punishment room, where he immediately tries to bury himself alive. I was hoping this was gonna be a different type of punishment room, am I right? Anyway, we managed to convince Woody to forgive himself, to which he responds by going into the Ultra Punishment Room Deluxe. And simply burying yourself alive cannot ever amount to the great crime of destroying flowers. So behold, the Hyper Punishment Ray, the rightful justice malicious criminals such as him deserve. Oh, it already broke. If you happen to wonder why the punishment gun also shoots knife, the random blue girl heard that someone was blowing themselves up with a comically large cannon and just couldn't miss out on all the fun. Now with friend inside me guy no longer following the advice of Lotte God, he throws himself down to shoot, and we walk onto this random stage where we get introduced to Blue. He initially wanted to do a show together with Woody, but for some reason that I just can't put my finger on, Woody just doesn't want to show up, resulting in the game being postponed. This is Look, we don't know anything about this one. This one? Surely they will not see us sneaking by. Oh yeah, they definitely see us. Well, time to fight. And with fight I mean go to court. To court. To court.
Higuruma, what are you doing?
Everyone come back! We're having a retrial.
This Dark World's judicial system has the unique gimmick that instead of the winner being whoever can afford the most expensive lawyer, the victor is instead decided by a way more refined and thought out process. We, the defendants, are allowed to present evidence and accuse the actual perpetrators, while Blue and Yellow solve the issues of court cases being super boring by shooting at us with guns. This, however, is of course completely valid, since shooting flowers is a crime that makes me sad that we do not have a punishment worse than death. Hey, wait a second. After we successfully and unsuccessfully convict every single one of the flowers of their unique crimes, Yellow finally allows us to leave, to which we respond by taking a pool break with Razor, which surprises me with a choice so difficult, so convoluted, that I had to ask a friend for help, who immediately encouraged me to consume all the pool water. But since I play with the spirit of Deltarune in mind, and because I feel bad for Elsie way too much, I choose the other option anyway. I just really hope that this is not a romantic situation, because if it were, I as the soul would be canonically forcing Chris into a relationship he might not actually want to take part in, resulting in the soul being cancelled on Twitter. But I digress. Since we have now met basically every important character in the story, we can pay money to hang out with them, which really just unlocks 2 lines of dialogue and probably only costs money because Toby noticed that once you've stockpiled your whole inventory with tea, you don't really have anything left to spend your money on. After dumping a bunch of money into talking with our newfound friends, we enter this news section that repeatedly rage baits me with flying boxing gloves. While I was there, I really felt like some distant voice was talking to me, but that must have just been the wind. We also meet Green, a mute cook who made a binding vow to never talk again in exchange for being able to create all kinds of constructs out of cheese. And behold, Purple Guy and the random blue girl rematch us with their new, even more refined strategy. Unbeatable and even more convoluted than before. Infinite, actless, invincible, eternal rainbow glasses that also shoot even more knives at us. This really left me to wonder why our enemies even allow us to hurt and act their creations if they can just turn it off. But my thinking was swiftly interrupted by these orange fists spawning out of nowhere. Maybe our enemies don't bother with making their creations immune, because the plot will just provide us a solution anyway. After we once again defeat these godlike glasses through nothing but sheer luck, I hear something I just can't put my finger on, but it probably wasn't important anyway. Green then fights us by feeding us food, and something unimportant that I forgot about was probably helping them with this, but I already forgot about it. Now that we have traversed the entirety of Flower Castle, this clears the path to a giant watering can that the genius that is Flowey didn't think was worth removing in an effort to slow our progress. Using this comically oversized progression blocker, we are finally able to make the sprout reach its adult form, because plants in this world are unable to make any progress in growth until you drown them in copious amounts of water. While climbing the giant beanstalk, we are shown multiple visions of how Esker completely neglects all of his children to finally prove that the ball is dead. It appears the golden breastplate and billions of other instances of glaze weren't enough to satisfy Esker's desire for knowledge. Reaching the top of the beanstalk, I really felt like I was about to get jumped here, but all of the flowers were too busy processing their lack of a father figure to actually attack me. Flowey, however, shows up with mad aura to remind everyone of the fact we're supposed to be enemies, and the flowers all hit us with cool and not so cool one-liners before disappearing. Flowey also reminds us of the fact that we stand no chance against the power of friendship. But I, as the protagonist, already know that the power of friendship only ever defeats people if the main character is using it. Not willing to let the flowers outstyle us, we too hit a sick one-liner before exiting, and oh my angel, this song slaps! The first flower to cross our path is Seth, because the best strategy to defeat your advancing enemies is obviously to combat them one at a time. Seth also downgraded his strategy from the Glasses of Doom to simply slightly reducing our sparing progress. I really don't know why he's so surprised he lost this. Next up are Yellow and Blue, and despite literally trying to murder us on 2 separate occasions for destroying Blue's flowers, they decide that the best way to stop us is to force us to trample the flowers and then shoot us with guns. Wow, what a hypocrite. Flurry also constantly chimes in to give random comments on lore and his motivations, even suggesting that we give up Tel Aviv so his world can live on. Even though I really like Tel Aviv, stealing its fountain might benefit society, since it's only a matter of time until some random child stumbles into the school's closet and suddenly gets transported into the dark world. But Tel Aviv is still really relevant to the plot, meaning that Flurry's plan will be completely rejected and we continue on. After making our way through Birmingham, England, we once again fall to Seth's trap, who seems to be the only enemy in this game who ever had the idea to make an unavoidable attack pattern. This strategy, however, only works for a single turn, because once you've spared one of the enemies doing the unavoidable attack, all you're left with is a really mediocre bullet pattern. We once again encounter Flowey, who unintentionally rage baits Relzy and reveals that he only ever acted like a jerk to make Relzy forget about his stupid rules and enjoy life for once. Relzy, however, possesses some unknown knowledge that we, as the player, aren't allowed to get a hold of, meaning that he throws Flurry's advice out the window and also tries to stab him on 2 separate occasions. Since I'm obviously a pro gamer, I have completed all of the previous chapters without healing at any point, and therefore I had enough money left to buy Green's entire stock of tea, preparing me for whatever could be lying up ahead. Turns out the flowers finally realized attacking us all together instead of taking turns might be the smarter options, but for balancing reasons, they still need to do it anyway. Not even close though. But now, the big moment is finally here. The climax of our struggles, and the final confrontation with the Flower Man. But now, our time has come for flowers to be the heroes, and build a world where all his kindness may be repaid. And Chris, this is your final chance. If you really believe your world is better, then stand against us. My recruits, lend me your power. Oh boy, I can't wait to finally beat this guy up. But beating him up won't be as easy, because this fight is home to yet another heart color, which I find quite ironic considering that Flowey is the only flower not based off a human soul, and after completely struggling to actually use this mechanic, we beat Flowey so hard that he has to cheat by sending us back to the beginning of the arena 2 separate times in order to not get beat. But suddenly, Susie has an idea, which always indicates something funny is about to happen, and we get thrown into the convenient scaffolding. Flowey tells us that there is no speeding a flower, but he put about 1 million of these speed boosts onto his dark fountain, allowing us to in fact outspeed a flower. Harnessing the power of friendship once again, he goes Super Saiyan and attacks us with the brilliant strategy of charging headfirst into a sword until he is defeated. Truly brilliant. Despite Flurry's brain-dead approach, and Chris even winning the epic anime standoff, Flurry still somehow manages to emerge victorious here. But for some reason he doesn't celebrate and instead gets so upset that he suddenly starts having pupils, and demands we continue fighting. Before any of that can happen though, Esker shows up, and he starts vague posting about his backstory, until he ultimately realizes that his quest for Flat Earth was an unhealthy obsession and needs to be let go. Flurry tries his best to convince wants Asuka to stay, but his parasocial relationship with Asuka is completely one-sided, resulting in Flowery ultimately ending up in the friend zone. We say our final goodbye to all the flowers, and oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the flowers are all so delicate in the real world that after we seal the fountain, they will be unable to join our dark world and therefore revert back to something a theorist would scream reference at. And finally, after all of this fighting, all of the struggles we faced together as friends are finally over. Yeah, no, the video still has a bunch of runtime. You know this isn't over yet. The knight suddenly dashes out of nowhere and scoops up Asuka, which is especially funny to me because everyone in the community expected Asuka to have an epic showdown with the knight. Especially after Asuka constantly talked about fighting whoever made the fountain. And all of the animations, of course. But worry not. Flowery dashes over to rescue Throttgore from the evil clutches of the Roaring Knight, and he will not rest until he has won. Yeah, no, it was painfully obvious that Flowery wouldn't just defeat the central antagonist 2 chapters before chapter 7. But I do have to admit how funny it would have been if Toby had taken inspiration from the Star Wars sequels and made the knight a joke character to be killed off later in the following chapters, just to bring back King from chapter 1 as the new big bad. Tearfully mourning Flowery's valiant sacrifice, we go on to seal the second fountain the knight made. That's how he pulled that off just now, by the way. Along the way, we fix up Flowery, even though I'm not really sure how effective that was, and finally get a shelter code, despite Chris once again trying to conceal it from us. And after accompanying Susie back to Tel Aviv, the chapter ends. And yeah, this is it. This is my first long-form video, which you might have been able to tell by the quality, cough cough, so it would really help my motivation and channel to boost up the algorithm a bit by liking and subscribing. I would really appreciate it. I also streamed all of this live, so check out the link on screen if you want to see me livestream stuff. Goodbye.